going to go back to the InDesign file, and I'm going to select that object again to make sure that I have it on my clipboard. Maybe you still have it on your clipboard. And now I'm going to go to Illustrator and start the file that will be the final presentation, the rendering. So we want to create a new file to start with. I don't see A3 here. We're going to open there we go, an A3 file. Apparently I recently opened one, but you can always find them under print. If you don't see it come right up, just say you want to see all the print presets, and A3 will be there. I'm going to click on that A3 file. Paste in my nice little image there, and then again holding the Shift key down, I'm going to enlarge this thing. My promise to you is that it should be pretty much exactly the size and shape of your A3 file, assuming nothing has gone wrong. If you can get it to fit exactly in that A3 file, we're in great shape. And if you can't, go ahead and fudge it a little bit. So with your black selection tool, you should be able to scale that up. This looks little, but it's rather large. And see, an A3 file is about 17 inches tall. We're now going to open the Layers panel. And we're going to unpack this layer. We've used the Layers panel a little bit to problem solve and troubleshoot in previous assignments, but in this one you'll be using it quite a bit. In the Layers panel, you'll notice that there is simply this one little critter in there. And while we're in Layer 1, what I'd like you to do is go down to the bottom of the Layers panel here, which is very, there we go, I'm going to bring it up a little past my dock so you can see it. And you can see this little icon that looks like a sheet of paper with its corner turned up. That's the universal sign in Adobe that you're going to make a new one of whatever you've got. So we're going to make a new layer here above Layer 1, and it will come in as Layer 2. I'd like to suggest that you do all your drawing, in other words, your typography, in Layer 2 and leave Layer 1 locked so that you don't inadvertently put something there. When you're done with this assignment, you're going to eliminate Layer 1 like that, either by deleting it or taking its eyeball off. And it's also very helpful as you're working to be able to eliminate Layer 1 like that by toggling the little visibility indicator here, the eyeball. That way you can see what your type looks like without the photograph behind it. So all your type is going to go in Layer 2. There are many ways that you can start this. You are not allowed for this assignment to draw with anything but type. So if you make a shape or a path, if you stroke anything, it all has to be done with typography. So any shapes that you make cannot be given fills except with type. With one exception, you may make a background rectangle to give the whole file a background fill. I'm doing this in Layer 2 because I have it activated here, and I'm going to start right up at the very top and give myself a background fill. Oh, what happened here? It looks as if my picture has come a little cattywampus there. I'll have to fix that. My background fill right now is white, and of course it's covering up my picture, but we'll solve that in a moment. I'd probably rather do something a little bit more. I'm going to move to Essentials Classic here so I have some strokes and fills at the top to look at. Maybe give it a gradient background. I'd like to give it something more interesting than black and white. Of course, I'm allowed to have any kind of analogous color scheme I want. So I think I'll open up the gradient window. See that window. And we'll make sure the fill is in front. And we'll give this a blue gradient. We'll make this, we'll get rid of this slider here because I don't think we need it. We're going to get rid of it. There we go. And we're going to move this one down, and I'm going to give it a very pale blue-purple. See what I've got there. It's at 0 opacity, of course. I want to go ahead and give it some strong opacity. So that will be my gradient, kind of a wild gradient for Nelson Mandela, but I'm sure he can take it. Now we'll look at this in the layers panel again. Where's the layers panel? There we go. I'm going to open this up, and you will notice that in layer 2 there is a rectangle. It's obscuring my view of layer 1 because it's on top of it. I can see layer 1 by toggling the visibility off that rectangle, and I'll probably be doing that a lot. In fact, because I need to see my image in order to draw the portrait in typography, I'll probably mostly work with that rectangle toggled off until I want to see how the color of type that I'm using looks against the background, and then I'll toggle it back on so that I can see. So let's leave that off for just a moment. One thing that you can do in the Layers menu is organize how you are adding objects or paths to the file. And at this point, I've only got one object in my drawing layer, but if I start putting a lot of typography in here, I will soon have hundreds of objects. So I may want to organize my objects by saying some of them are going to be in Nelson Mandela's head, for example. I may draw his teeth, I may draw his lips, I may draw his eyes and his hair and his mustache. So I could say in layer 2, I'm going to hit the sublayer button, and I could say I'm going to have a head layer. In layer 2, going back to layer 2 because that's where I want my sublayer to end up, I could say I'm going to have a torso button or a suit button, however I want to call it, or sublayer rather. And then I could go back to layer 2 again, hit the sublayer button, and say I'm going to have a button. I'm going to have a sublayer for the negative shape. And so I'm going to rename this by clicking on it. You could call it the background. And now I'm thinking, ooh, I wish my background rectangle here was in that negative shape sublayer. I'm going to move it up there. I can't move it right now because I have its visibility off. But in order to move it, I could move it up there and then later take its visibility off. I'm thinking now the negative shape probably should be behind the suit and the head. I may want the head on top, it doesn't really matter, but the point is I can move these around. I move them around by grabbing the little icon and clicking and dragging back and forth in the stack. Now, if I wish to take the visibility off the negative shape sublayer, I can either make the whole layer invisible, in which case I can't draw in it, or if I want to draw in that layer, but I want to be able to see what's going on in the photo, I could just take the visibility off that rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to do that now. I would like to draw in, let's say in head layer. I think we'll start with the pen tool. When I'm going to select the pen tool, I always select the direct selection tool first in case I need to change any of my anchor points. I can toggle back and forth to that. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so that I can see Nelson Mandela just a little bit better here. Ooh, come back, come. My mouse is making everything float away. Okay, I'm going to click here and click here. I'm drawing a shape for Mandela's hair. Let's take the fill off of it. There we go. I'm going to draw this rather quickly and hope I get it fairly right. I know how to go back and fix it if I don't. I'm just quickly going around his hair here with a pen line. I'm making mostly smooth anchor points by clicking and dragging making a few of those angled anchor points, but obviously you don't need too many. I'll give him one on his widow's peak there. And let's see, maybe one more smooth anchor point here. And then I'm going to go back up here. I'm looking for that little O that tells me I have a closed shape. When I see that, I'm clicking and I've got a shape. Now if there's anything I want to move around a little bit, I'm not crazy about the curve here, I can always toggle to the shape selection tool. I'm toggling there with the command. It would be the control key if you have a Windows computer. I'm going to click on this to bring out its handles and see if I can get that handle to lie a little flatter. Looks like this is the offending handle. There we go. I want it to follow that curve a little bit more smoothly. Now I'm happy with my hair shape. I'm going to use this as a text box. So my next task will be to gather the text that I want to put into this area. And I think since we're now getting into text tools, we'll end this video at this point and move forward with one more video that explores some of the text tools and how you might use them to create your typographical portrait.